And once I started to understand more about who I was able to help myself more and more and more. And I do still have a lot of work to do. I still have a lot of self-help to do. And it can be hard sometimes, but you have to take it one day at a time, and sometimes don't look left, don't look right, don't look back, don't look up or down. Only keep your eye on the target. And once in a while it's important that you look back to see how far you've come. But if you look back too much, too frequently, then it can seem like you're not going anywhere. But if you learn to balance yourself and the direction that your mind goes, then when you do look back, you will see a very huge gap in the place that you once were. For some people it's easier than others. For myself it was a little more difficult because I didn't grow up with a natural drive and self-motivation in life to do the things that I enjoyed or the things that were necessary for me to get to a place where I can enjoy the things that I enjoy. But learning to help yourself can give you that drive, can be your fuel to drive you forward. The flame exists within all of us, but you have to know where to look, and you have to look inside. You can't look outside. Here at Shaolin Temple, we don't really talk about astrology or New Age spirituality or things beyond what we experience in our day-to-day life with our senses. To say that all of these other things that are beyond that exist or don't exist depends on the individual. It's not that they do or don't exist, or that we believe or disbelieve in them, but what is going to help us right now? Are these things going to really enable us to better our lives in a mature way? We already live with spirit. Our heart pumps every single day, whether we're sad or happy or angry or depressed, or whether we want to give up or not. Sometimes we want to give up, but our heart doesn't give up. It keeps pumping. We already have spirit within us. We live with it every single day. So, to look for a further spirituality, it can be good if you approach it the right way, but to get lost in the fantasy of believing that something outside of yourself can help you more than you can help yourself isn't very helpful. And maybe you will find that help outside, but for me, I like to pay attention more to things of value, and I like to instill qualities within myself that give me value as well as helping me. It's very simple. Just pay attention to yourself more. Be a little bit selfish, not with other people, but with your time, with your energy. In order for you to share with other people, first you need to have for yourself. You need to make sure that you're okay. If you're not okay, how are you going to share with other people? How are you going to enjoy other people? We all need to take more time in our life to maintain our health, to bring back our health, and to keep balance in our lives. And that can give us more time. We all feel like we don't have enough time. Oh, I don't have time for class today because, oh, I have too much homework to do, or I have too much of this, or too much of that, or other things are more important. But we all forget that without our body, without our health, we have nothing because we don't exist anymore. If our health deteriorates, our heart stops pumping. If our heart stops pumping, we don't exist, and if we don't exist, all of these things that we're working for, they might exist, but they exist without us. So, first, it's better to make sure that you're okay. When you're okay, you can give more without running out. That is the beginning. What is the beginning of Shaolin? I guess that depends on what direction you want to lead to. The beginning of the history is the seed that was planted on the grounds of Shaolin Temple by the Emperor in 495 AD. Planting that seed and naming it Shaolin, literally translated meaning young woods or young tree. The beginning can also be stage one, in the studying and the philosophy and the practice, learning to see and listen and to feel. But you also need to understand the beginning of you, of yourself. What is your beginning? For me, my beginning is more literal. My beginning is my birth into this life. Leaving my mother's womb into this world. Having my tether severed. Becoming truly independent for the first time. And what goes hand in hand with this? Again, this goes back to stage one of the training as well. This is why for me Shaolin really just represents life. Because stage one in Shaolin, we learn to see, we learn to listen, and we learn to feel. The same way that when we leave the womb of our mother, the first experiences that we have are the things that we see, the things that we hear, the things that we feel that are so unfamiliar at first to us, and learning to understand these things and what they all mean and why they're happening, and learning to not only see all of these things outside and listen to all of these things outside and feel all of these things that are happening outside, but seeing ourselves, hearing the sound of our voice when we cry as a baby, feeling our emotions and feeling our body growing and moving and developing. That is the beginning for me. Very parallel to the beginning of Shaolin. And we all go through a certain level of foundation building as we grow up. We learn stage 1, stage 2, and stage 3 at a very basic level as growing up. The stages, I mean, of Shaolin. course, we learn to see, we learn to listen, and we learn to feel. We can't really move much. We can kind of move our limbs a little bit and stretch our legs and move our face and open our mouth and make noises, but can't really move much at first. And then eventually, after developing stage 1, learning to see, listen, and feel, we move on to stage 2. What is stage 2? Stage 2 for Shaolin, as well as life, is control, balance, and flexibility. What is control? Well, control as a child that you learn is learning to use your body more, learning to move your arms more, opening and closing your fist, moving your legs, trying to move in your environment without your mother and your father. Eventually, you're placed on the ground by your parents to see if you can crawl, and eventually you figure it out, and you gain more control over your muscles, and you learn to crawl on the ground and move more. And then you use that control to try to develop your balance. You try to stand and you fall, and you try to stand again and you fall again, and you repeat and you repeat and you repeat. And eventually you find your balance. What is after balance? After balance is flexibility. Not the same flexibility that you use to stretch, how far you can bend over, or how far you can open your legs, or stretch your back, or stretch in any direction, but flexibility in the sense of synchronizing your action, everything moving as one. Learning to take your first step without your body falling over. After you take your first step, you might fall, but then you get back up with your balance and your control, and you try to take another step, and another step, and another step, and eventually, before you know it, you're walking. You've synchronized your action. You've synchronized your life. Every part of your body is moving as one in order for you to take those steps, in order for you to maintain your balance as you move forward. You synchronize. And then, after that, the fun begins. We learn to play. We learn to do other things with our body, jump around and climb up on things. And with that is stage 3. We learn speed, agility, and power. How fast can we walk? Can we run? How fast can we run? How far can we run? How high can we climb? How much can we do? In order to move on from there, we do have to develop stage 3 a little bit. You need a certain level of speed and agility and power. You need to be able to support your body throughout the day. And from there, that's when things change, depending on the environment that we grow up in and the upbringing that we get from our parents. Most of us get to a point where we stop developing these fundamentals and move on to things outside of ourselves that we consider important and higher priority than the things we were developing as a child, the things inside of us. So, the more out of balance we become, the more important it is to go back to the beginning and start over and try to figure out where you left off in your journey and continue from there inside. Starting over. First, to start over, you need to know who you are now. You need to see yourself now. You need to listen to yourself now, and you need to feel yourself now. And then go back to the beginning. What did you see then? What did you hear then? What